Joining us with some perspective is Bob Iaccino, who's co-founder and chief market strategist, Path Trading Partners. Bob, it's nice to have you with us. This is a separate story, obviously, but it is a story of interest, considering that because of the crypto run-up recently, you have crypto-related stocks like Coinbase, which have been surging. What stands out with you tied to this SEC suit against Coinbase that can go forward?
Well, number one, they're alleging that they were a securities broker without registering as a security, again, reiterating that Bitcoin is a security. Cryptocurrencies in general are securities, and the SEC had already ruled that, so they sort of reinforced it with the way that they worded the suit in the first place. But what really strikes me is that Coinbase's stock is up despite this going through, or the judge ruling that it can proceed, which means that the amount of money that they've allocated to some possible judgment, as well as maybe some reclassification of who they are as an exchange, has been allocated already. And so people aren't necessarily worried because of the strength of the underlying asset, Bitcoin itself, and this somehow damaging Coinbase. There's a huge swath of people that hold their cryptocurrencies at Coinbase. And if there was a fear, you would see not only a selling of the stock, but an exodus from the exchange as well. And we're not seeing that.
Coinbase still has an opportunity to defeat the case after evidence gathering or on an appeal. And obviously, they have been navigating legal waters for a while now. I guess, though, you know, what is your big take? Here we are. It's the end of the first quarter. Everyone's talking about record highs for the S&P 500. But I just highlighted how Bitcoin itself has had this huge rally that has sort of papered over, I guess, some of the concerns we had in the crypto market going back to last year. What is your take on the crypto economy itself? Because it is a very passionate investor base. There's been this storyline in the markets these last few months that because you saw the spot Bitcoin ETFs launch, that all of a sudden Wall Street is in, institutional investors are in, but you're in the market every day. What's been your sense of what's going on?
Well, I think you get a lot of rebalancing that happens when you get this kind of a move. So the short-term sell-off that we saw in Bitcoin from its all-time high seemed to be just that for me. You did have people get involved pretty quickly after the ETFs launched. And then there is a required rebalancing for a lot of these particular investors, especially on the ETF side, because of the run-up it had. So I'm feeling pretty good about the future of Bitcoin as an asset, especially when you see, again, things like this suit saying that they didn't register as a securities broker. Well, the SEC hadn't classified it as a security when Coinbase first launched. So there seems to me to be some grace period there, and that's why I don't really believe this lawsuit's going to go very far, maybe a small fine. But the asset itself seems to be on very stable footing to me. Now, there are investors in it, as you mentioned, based on the ETF, who have not experienced these big collapses yet. And I think the next thing that we're going to see is what kind of stability. You mentioned the very dedicated investor base. Those people are not in the ETF. So it'll be interesting to see when you see a couple of whales get out for whatever reason, how sturdy the ETF base in this investment is.
Okay. There's another big story this week, a devastating story really coming out of Baltimore with the collapse of that bridge. Anytime we have one of these big moments, the market actually keeps tabs on what's going on as well. Can you give us a sense, just given the importance of this port, how this becomes a story of what to watch within the American economy?
So it's about 11.6 million tons a day that goes to this port. It's one of the most important ports, especially for the Eastern Seaboard. It's one of the closest ports in terms of rail transportation to the Midwest and to a lot of major cities like Chicago, Milwaukee, Cleveland. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're talking about close to 1% of the total seaborne cargo by weight that goes through the U.S. And a lot of it is automotive. Quite a bit of it is automotive. So it's going to have an effect, and it could potentially have a small effect or a small impact on goods inflation, which is still in a deflationary period. It's the only part of inflation that is showing deflation or actual reduction of prices. But before this particular tragic accident, even goods prices were kind of rounding and heading a little bit higher. this could add to that pressure and could potentially, not right now, but could potentially slow the Fed rate cuts down. I think that's the first thing to look for. This is very serious in that area and also very serious in the insurance industry, which is going to have some sizable payouts. And as we've seen with things like Hurricane Ian that I experienced firsthand, you don't get a whole lot of help from the insurance company right away. So they're going to be fighting to pay that. And that's going to increase insurance premiums across the scope for shipping. So that, again, may add to inflation over the medium term.
And then it's actually a trading idea you brought to the table today. It's Hillenbrand. This is an industrial stock, and this is in part because you do see some connective tissue here to this situation playing out in Baltimore.
I do. I exist in the mindset that we're in a reflationary period. Okay, so that means stronger economy, stronger asset prices, and stronger pricing. So take that down to the inflation level. And that in those kinds of regimes, one of the top performers, if you do an equity sector back test, is industrials. It's just behind energy and technology. Energy, we talked about last time I was on with FANG, which has done really well, up over 7% since I was last on your show. So the next thing I want to look for is some sort of industrial stock. And in part because of this particular problem in the US, Hillenbrand established in 1906 and is based in the UK. So their business won't necessarily be affected by this. So I like that particular stock.
All right, Bob.